All right, here we are, Unit 3, addition and subtraction of whole numbers and decimals. Now this first learning goal that you're going to write down in your math journal, the first learning goal is that you can read and write the decimals to the thousandths. So go ahead and jot that down. So just a little review for you, and where numbers are before the decimal and after. So if we're looking here at this number 1, anything before the decimal is a whole number or larger than 1. Anything after the decimal is smaller than 1. And the different names that we give them, of course, is ones before the decimal. Here's our decimal, and then we have tenths, hundredths, and thousandths.
And you don't need to write this part down yet. You're going to be getting the part you have to write down in just a second, but that's just a real quick, overview of what we're going to be going through today.
So now we have to ask ourselves, okay, well, how do I say these numbers? Because now that we're 5th graders, we want to sound nice and smart. We're not going to say 1.234 anymore.
And this is the part that you want to write down. Just this little section right here that we're circling. Make sure you write that part down because we're going to be referencing that as we go through, and you're going to be able to go back to it for the next couple of units, actually. There are a couple of lessons.
So when I say the decimal, this is where we get to say the word and instead of point. So instead of saying 1.234, we are going to say 1.
Oh, look at how fancy we're getting.
And 234 thousandths. And since we ended on that word thousandths, that's where we get to say that.
And we're just writing it in there so you can see exactly where it lines up.
There we go. So here's a couple more examples for you. And once again, instead of saying 3.8, now we are going to say 3 and 8 tenths. And once again, since we ended on that place value of tenths, that's why we get to say tenths. And next one we have would be 4 and this one's tricky because it says 6 hundredths.
Beautiful.
And so that one we had to be careful because we wanted to make sure that since we were in the hundredths place value, we remembered that 0 and said it correctly. We have 7 as our whole number, so 7 and 185 thousandths.
Again, you're looking at wherever it ends. That's where you want to put that, or what you want to say.
Yes.
All right. Now you know what time it is. You guys get to try some on your own.
And here they are. Now you're going to try some in, just like Mrs. Bush was saying, write out the words.
So go ahead and pause this, please. Write them down, and then come back, and we'll move on to the second part of the learning goal. All right, so now that you have learned how to read those numbers properly, like what you say, now how do you write what you hear? Okay, so we're going to give you some words, and you have to try and write down what they are. So for our first one, remember when we hear the word and, that's where the decimal goes. So if I hear 3 and 4 tenths, so if we put this in above our place value, you can see the 3 comes before because it comes before the and. So 3 and it says 4 tenths, so the 4 is going to be in the tenths column. That looks really good.
Thanks.
Better than my first attempt. Okay, so 3 and 4 tenths. That just goes over it. Okay, so here's a few examples. If I said 4 and 27 hundredths, what would that look like? I gotcha. There you go.
All right, so we have
4 and then I've got 27 hundredths. So my 27 hundredths, the 7 is going to end in the hundredths place. Okay, so 27 hundredths. Very nice.
Thanks.
I popped the next two up there so we can stop with the erasing and getting in and getting out of it. So we'll just do both of these real quick back to back so you can see them as your examples. So 3 and 61 thousandths. So I know what comes before the decimal point is because of where the and is. So 3 and 61 thousandths, but since it says thousandths down here, I know that my 61 has to end in the thousandths column. So I'm going to sort of end it there. So if I do the 61 that ends in the thousandths, go ahead and do that. Notice that I've got nothing in my tens place, so I can't just leave it with nothing. So in that case, you fill it in with a 0. Okay, so the way I would read that is 3 and 61 thousandths. All right, so our last one that we'll do as an example, if we have 8 and 642 thousandths, well, again, the easy part comes before the and, so 8 and 642 thousandths, that means the 2 is going to end in the thousandths column, so 642 thousandths. All right, so now you guys get to, again, try some of these on your own. So there are 3 problems that'll be coming up for you to try. 3 and 95 hundredths, so I want you to just write that as a decimal. 9 and 703 thousandths, and again, be careful, make sure you look back at it and compare it to what it says and that they match. And then the last one, 6 and 12 thousandths, so be real careful with that one. And I believe that that is all. So once you get those things all written down, remember you have to do your summary and your question, and then come back and be ready to talk about it tomorrow.